A couple days ago, I released a video where I gave my initial thoughts on the Season 4 teaser trailer for Dragon's Rising, and I am very positive in that video, and I definitely stand by everything that I said, but there was one character in particular that I did not mention. And that is actually Raz. I've been thinking a lot about his character since this teaser has actually released, and I've been honestly very concerned about the future when it does come to Raz, and I think there is a lot of different things that go into it, so I want to explain my concerns. And also just get a general consensus when it does come to this character. Personally speaking, I'm not going to go through everything and anything that we have seen when it does come to Raz. I want to talk about him fully in depth when we do finally get the end of his character arc. But as of now, I'm definitely seeing some things that are definitely getting me a little bit worried, so let's talk about it. Now you may be wondering where these concerns are actually stemming from, and it actually does come down to a handful of different factors, a lot of them being the newer things we've discovered, along with a lot of the older things. It feels like that in recent time, Raz has definitely been on a very certain trajectory. He was very much going upwards, but it feels like he is now going down, and it is no better demonstrated than just showing how he's been treated throughout the course of the seasons. Take Raz in Season 1 for example. He wasn't immediately set up to be the next big bad villain. He was set up in the akin of Rapton or Laroe as one of the henchmen simply within the army of Imperium, and that was honestly completely fine because whilst he was treated as such, he was definitely getting implication that he was much more than we let on. And this isn't even me talking about the direct connection into Season 2, but more on that in a minute. I'm talking Season 1 Part 1 references that show that Raz is much definitely more than we truly realise. Of course, he is serving under Imperium, and that is something that is quite definitive. But the thing is that he does simply state what his intentions are during this time. It is very clear that the writers wanted us to understand that Raz was going to be more, he was going to be something more fierce, and we simply just weren't even realising at that moment in time. Take at the end of Season 1 Part 1 for example, Raz is doing his best to be able to keep the dragon secure specifically. He actually has no issue with letting the ninja go by any account, he's just simply frustrated that he was losing dragons, and it stemmed into his later plans, and you can kind of tell just based purely on what he says specifically about the Source Dragon. We know nowadays that Raz's plan heavily is reliant on the Source Dragons and Source Dragon energy to be more specific, and as far back as Season 1 Part 1, he references that the Source Dragon is all that matters and not the ninja. It is Beatrix's just simple desire to get revenge because she was humiliated that rushed Imperium towards the ninja and not the dragons. Raz is the only one that tries to contest this, and that is why he gets locked up. Another big thing that you realise when you look back at it is that Raz was just simply not loyal to Imperium. It was just a part of his plan and it served a purpose to him. Because again, in those final episodes of Part 1, you hear him refer to the dragons as his specifically. He doesn't refer to them as property of Imperium or property of Beatrix. They are his in his eyes. So it was very clear that they wanted us to understand that Raz was going to be something. And honestly, it is just really cool in retrospect. Like I mentioned earlier, part 2 of the first season is just simply more on the nose when it did come to Raz's intentions, and did just continue on the build up. It was the literal last scene of season 1 part 2, just demonstrating that he had more plans and he had more going on than we truly realised. Honestly, season 1 did a lot for Raz. It was a perfect introduction to him and definitely did set him up very, very well, but it only got better. Season 2 of Dragon's Rising by far solidified the fact that Raz was the new version of what essentially is Garmadon. They did so much for him in this season and his presence was more felt than ever. He was intimidating, he had plans, he had backups, he had everything under his sleeve, and it really did feel like the ninja were not at the advantage against him. Every single action that Raz took within the second season was perfectly illustrated to show that he was thinking of everything so the ninja wouldn't be able to face against it. Of course, he faces obstacles himself because the ninja need to have some form of stay when it does come to these seasons. But he thought the ninja wouldn't learn Rising Dragon technique. He noted he thought that it was truly impossible. With the Blood Moon, he had no problem whatsoever performing the ritual. In also the manipulation of Aaron, he was able to say exactly what he needed to and know exactly what to say to him to know that he could distill some disloyalty in him. Even in the moments that are meant to demonstrate the ninja's feats, you still see that Raz has such an absolute presence. Take the ending of Season 2 Part 1 for example. You will note that Raz in this amazing spinning shot between him and Lloyd when they fight, it's obviously meant to demonstrate that Lloyd is definitely putting up a fight when it does come to Raz. But Raz still does win the encounter, he still does succeed, and it does just go to show that he was an absolute threat. And I absolutely love this. I think Raz was perfectly demonstrated to be something that was a true threat and something that will be memorable for the rest of the time of Ninjago. Honestly, I absolutely love what they've been doing with him, and I was just so much more excited to see so much more of him as well. And we definitely got that moving into Season 2 Part 2. He continued forth during this time where he just felt like an absolute menace. He knew exactly when to display Jay towards the ninja. He knew exactly what to say to Jay to make Jay loyal to him. Something that as of Season 3 Part 2, the ninja still haven't been able to fully do yet. So Raz clearly was very knowledgeable on exactly what to do again in these kind of aspects. But he just did nothing but continue to demonstrate that he was this giant villain that's now in the show that we had to take seriously. And honestly, leaving Season 2, I was convinced that he was going to continue to do it within Season 3. I thought the trajectory was just going to continue to go up. Even though the Forbidden Five were back, and they had the advantage on Raz at the end, even with the cliffhanger, I thought Raz was going to have a giant presence. I thought he was still going to contend with the likes of Thunderfang. But turns out I was actually wrong. Season 3, in my opinion, was the beginning of the downfall of the Raz trajectory. It felt like he was still very much there, but it just felt a lot less. Season 3 Part 1 demonstrated that Raz was injured, and he was on the verge of actually becoming departed himself. Of course, Aaron prevents this, but it feels like Raz just sat back. He was just this aggressive man within a chair, and it really did feel like a complete difference when it did come to where he was just the season beforehand. That's not to say that he didn't have some absolutely fantastic scenes within Season 3 Part 1. I think the scene with him and Aaron at the grave was fantastic. I think the scene where Raz is fighting off against the dragons is also amazing. He definitely did have his moments, but it did also feel like they were starting to kind of downplay what they were actually doing. The main thing I think of is his fight with Rogue when they are within the sky. Raz feels completely at the disadvantage, and it feels like the first major instance where it felt like he wasn't in control of what he was actually doing. Of course, this was to set up the presence of Rogue, but I just don't like the fact that they were basically using the Worf effect to actually get away with doing this. Honestly, it just felt like they were just not really regarding how Raz would have acted. It feels like Raz a season ago would have definitely had much more of a presence within the situation, but he just simply didn't seem to have that. And I do feel like that was really the showing that he was starting to honestly go a bit downhill. But I will argue that Season 3 Part 2 actually did at least somewhat try to recover this. It feels like he did actually have some decent moments within this part. I know Season 3 Part 2 isn't the most well-received aspect of Ninjago Dragons Rising, but the thing is that he did have some cool moments. His fight with both Rohiki and Geo was really cool. I also like his fight with Rontu. It felt like he at least had a little bit of a presence, and not to mention also his fight with Aaron and Sora. It felt like he did genuinely have his moments, and I was at least a little bit reassuring when it came to things, but I just didn't understand what was going to be coming next. And that what is coming next is actually everything that we know so far about Season 4. The two main things that we know officially, like I said, is the teaser trailer, but also the sets that are associated with this season. The thing is that I've noticed a distinct lack of Raz, and I feel like that is almost intentional, and honestly, I am extremely concerned about that. It feels like he's not going to be getting too much of a presence within the course of Season 4. It feels like we're not actually going to be getting too much when it does come to this character. There are some other leaks that do back this claim up, but I'm not going to talk about them because we don't know the validity of the claim. But going purely off of the official things that we have had, it really does feel like Raz isn't going to be all that present in Season 4. This is ultimately all just theory and speculation, and if I am wrong, I sincerely hope that I am, but the thing is that as it stands, I've really become concerned that Raz isn't actually going to be doing much within this season. I'm worried that he's just going to be sat on the back burner, and we're not really going to get too much in accordance with him. The teaser for Season 4 has definitely demonstrated that there's going to be a lot going on in this season. Each of these individual ninja groups are certainly going to have their own things to get on with, so the inclusion of Raz may have just simply not have been possible. And I do think that is going to have some really bad implications for Raz. I think honestly, we may be looking at a situation where we may go without this character for the next 10 episodes of Dragon's Rising, and that will, in my opinion, completely kill the momentum of the character. He has been very present, whether you realize it or not, when it does come to Dragon's Rising. Like I said, it was a little bit shaky in Season 3, but he still did have his moments. It just became a bit concerning, but this has definitely just completely topped it off for me. If Raz is handled incorrectly over the course of the next 10 episodes, we genuinely could be looking at a situation where Raz's momentum could be hurt and his whole story may also become compromised. Of course, that is absolutely the worst case scenario, and I'm genuinely hoping this isn't the case and that I am wrong, but from all indications so far, it really does feel like he's not going to be here too much for the next 10 episodes. And again, I'm just worried about that. Because with the mixed reception that Dragon's Rising has been getting over the course of its life cycle, one of the most consistent positives has always been Raz. So if they start to mishandle him, it may kill Dragon's Rising for a lot of people. And this is definitely a very doom post kind of video. But it's more for me to reflect the fact that it is honestly a possibility based on what we currently know. But again, I sincerely hope that I am incorrect. But I do think on an overall, Raz is still going to be in safe hands. I think we may have just gotten the wrong end of the stick, and he may actually have more of a presence than what we initially do realize. Like I said, just based on current evidence, it really does just feel like Raz isn't going to be getting all that much. And if that is the case, I'm going to be severely disappointed. But regardless, Season 4 is definitely still looking quite good. If the ninja are as good as it seems to be looking, I definitely think we're still in for a good time. It's just going to be disappointing that this will definitely be a net negative. But I do want to know what you guys think. Do you agree with me or do you not? Would you be happy with not seeing Raz for a while? Would you be happy if simply he's on the back burner for a little bit longer? Or do you hope that he's at the forefront of all of this? Do you hope that he has more of a presence? Because I certainly do. But apart from that, thank you very much for watching the video, and if there is any other Season 4 speculation you'd like me to do, please let me know, because I love videos like this. The build-up hype cycle of these new seasons are extremely fun for me, and I hope they are for you as well. But if you did enjoy watching this video, please consider subscribing. I love discussing Ninjago with more people, and if you do want to support the channel any further, which you don't have to, you could always become a channel member. The legends on screen are members, and my thank for you all is definitely there. Your support means the absolute world to me, and I do hope I can continue to deserve your membership. But like I said, that is about it for today, you guys, and thank you very much for watching. Take care. Okay, bye!